Hello YouTubers. In this video I'm going to show you how I cut $100 a month off my water utility bill. So what I'm going to do is first show you that I actually did save that amount of money, and then I'm going to explain to you how I was able to accomplish that. It took a little research on my part, but I was able to accomplish it, and it made a huge difference. So what you're looking at here is my most recent utility bill. And you can see the months of, these are the winter months here. This is December, January, and now February. So in December, I used approximately 11,000 gallons. And as you can see from the graph, it kept going up and up and up, and finally got to the point where I said, this is ridiculous. How could I be using 11,000 gallons a month in water? So I started looking into it. And I got the bill about the middle of December, and I did find out what was causing the problem, and that's why in the January bill it was reduced. But it wasn't for the whole month. It was only for half a month that my solution to the problem was implemented, so it only cut the bill by half. So now here it is mid-February, I've had the solution in place for a whole month, and you can see it reduced my bill down to approximately 2,000 gallons a month, which is much more reasonable, and actually even less than what I had been doing in the past, which I think was a reflection of the problem I was having with the water going back to over a year ago. So in the December bill was approximately like $139, and this bill, as you can see, well, maybe you can't see, is $32. There you go, $32. So I saved approximately like $107. So I'm going to break here and then go explain to you how I managed to accomplish this. All right, we're back. So the first thing I did was I did a little research on the internet to find out about how other people dealt with their high water bills. So most of them seem to have a problem with external pipe leaks in their yard or whatever. So I went and checked my water meter. This is my water meter here. So it turns out that my water meter is actually inside my home. So that means if there's any leak in the yard for water getting to the house, it would not show up on the water meter. So that means it had to be some issue inside the house. So I went around checking faucets. Of course, none of the faucets leaked, and then I went around to the bathrooms to see if there was an issue with the toilets. So I'll show that in a second. Here we are in the downstairs den bathroom. Excuse the noise from the fan. And it turns out that this toilet did have a small leak. If you look closely, you can see that the flap on the tank does not quite cover the hole leading to the toilet bowl. So a little bit of this could account for it, but certainly not several thousand gallons, because the difference was like 9,000 gallons a month. So what I did was I turned off the water to this one to see until I have a chance to replace the flap so that it doesn't leak at all. But I doubt that that was really anything significant. So I'll show you the next thing I did. All right, here we are back in the utility room, and this is my furnace humidifier, April Air. And what I noticed when I came back in the utility room, kind of looking at the water meter, I noticed an absolute stream of water flowing down the drain tube here. And I looked at that and said, oh my gosh, that could easily be a gallon every 5 minutes. I didn't actually measure it, but I thought, oh, this is it. So my humidifier, my April Air, is controlled by the humidifier setting on the thermostat. And about a year ago, I had turned it up, which is why when you looked at the bill, it said a year ago that my water usage had increased. Certainly not as much as in the late fall and winter time. But that's also a pretty good indication. The issue was that, well, of course, in the winter, the air gets a lot drier, so the humidifier tries to put out more water through the filter, through the humidifier here, and of course it uses more water. And in the middle of winter, this was December, when the air is the driest, it just gushed water through the humidifier. So let me show you how this works. So it's pretty simple. There's a control mechanism here that runs water. It's connected to my water source, and it runs water over the pad, the filter pad here, and then it drains out the bottom and comes down the tube. So the issue here is that this is a really, really poor design. So part of the problem was I cranked up the humidity setting on the thermostat. I had it up at 60 because the air was too dry for me. But 60, just a ton of water was flowing through it, and it may have helped the humidity somewhat. I don't think a whole lot because it was still pretty low. And most of the water goes through the pad. When the furnace is on, it blows air across the pad, which helps the humidify the air. But most of the water drains out the bottom, and it's a complete waste. What I really need to do is have a humidifier that has some kind of collection of water at the bottom, and runs a wheel with the pad so the water isn't draining out the bottom just as it does in one pass over the humidifier. So what I did was I took the thermostat setting and I cranked the humidity down to, well, I think it's at like 10%. And basically at that point the water stopped draining, and there wasn't any water going through the humidifier at all. And so I did that in the middle of December when I first got the bill and started looking into the problem. And as you can see, after a whole month, it went from approximately 11,000 gallons a month down to about 2,000 gallons a month, which would be normal usage for, you know, cooking and showers and that kind of stuff. So that clearly is the problem. Now, I must admit that not everybody who has this kind of humidifier necessarily cranks their thermostat setting up to 60%. So part of it was my fault for doing that. But even if you have it setting at 40%, which probably be a little bit more normal, my guess is you're still wasting a lot of water through this type of humidifier, furnace humidifier. So if you watch this video and try to experiment with your water usage, I expect you'll get some significant savings if you turn it down to 0. Now, of course, in the middle of winter, you still need to humidify your air. So what I did is I went out and bought a room humidifier, and I got that going 24 hours a day. And that seems to have helped enough so that the air is damp enough so that my skin doesn't dry out. So even if you haven't set yours up to 60% like I did, and you only got it like 40% or maybe 30%, you're still going to see a significant savings because it's not wasting all the water going down the tube, and switching instead to a room humidifier or maybe 2 room humidifiers. It's a little more work. I got to fill up the room humidifier every day, once a day, but to save $100 a month, I'm willing to do that. And so far, the room humidifier seems to have done sufficiently moistened the air that it has worked out well. So that's the key. The key is this really poor design April air humidifier. So if you have that kind of humidifier, I would strongly encourage you to check your water bill and see if you can save a bunch of money. You may not save $100 a month or more like I did, but I bet you'll save some, and it might even be fairly significant. Hope that helps.